All right, welcome back to the War Room, guys. I am here with not just Bert, not just Thomas, but we also got Hide the Children, Jay Palacios in the house tonight to give some very unique takes per usual. And gentlemen, surprisingly, we've got a lot to talk about after this weekend. I thought it would just be one or two games to look at. It's actually a plethora. You've got a lot to happen this weekend. You've got a absolute shootout that occurred in College Station that should not have been one. Indiana rolls against Wisconsin, treats them like the preschool team that they are. Notre Dame does what Notre Dame does against their terrible schedule. We can go on. And then, of course, the Alabama upset is one we're going to have to really dive into, along with Georgia taking the Longhorns to the woodshed. So, gentlemen, Bert, I tell you what, since there's three Aggies here and only one Bulldog, I think it's only fair that we let you pick which one of the big games to cover first. So what matchup from this Week 12 would you like to cover?
I mean, let's just jump into it. Let's just talk Aggie.
Can you act more pitiful? Can you act more like a chain?
We have the Florida Ole Miss game too. If you want to talk about that, and
just talk about your team. Go ahead.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna mute you. I'm kidding. Any of you. All right.
If your own farts,
in this case, it was a fart for an entire half. Anyway, so we go. Look, A&M comes back to College Station after I think 4-game road stint, and a big win over Mizzou on the road. Another ranked win for them. And this was supposed to be the game that us Aggies would be able to. It's a prop your feet up on the couch game, or it was supposed to be. And for a whole 30 minutes of play, I was searching up on Apple Maps which bridge I was going to jump off of. That's where we were at that game. Me and several of my fellow Aggie graduates, and it wasn't looking good. And then so we saw the worst half of football I think we've seen probably since the second half of the UCLA game in 17 or 16, whenever that was. And then we saw the best half of football potentially ever. So we walk out of this game kind of not knowing how to feel. So I'll tell you what, Bert, we'll close with you since it's kind of your job to be the realist amongst us three Aggies. But
and I will.
Thomas, let me open with you. Get your take on the first half and what you think was going wrong. What was your thought on the play of Marcel Reed in the first half, the drops from the receivers, etc.? What do you think was the biggest problem we were seeing, even defensively too? What do you, of those three or whatever, do you think we were struggling with the most?
Yeah. So I was at the game, and I've never been so disappointed pertaining to the first half. I mean, you go into halftime 30-3, you're not expecting a comeback. I jokingly was talking to my friends that I went to the game with, and I was like, "Hey, what are we thinking about? Are we thinking about leaving at halftime?" Obviously, not really taking it too seriously. I mean, Marcel, overall, the offense was not looking good. The defense wasn't. Besides Cassius Howell, the entire defense did not look good. I mean, you had Cassius Howell getting close to Sellers, had a couple deflections at the line, but you saw just the coverage was not good. I mean, Nick Arbor just ran a 80-yard touchdown off of a little dump from Sellers. I mean, Sellers was having his way with us, taking us to the woodshed in the first half, and it seemed like a repeat of last year. Marcel had 2 interceptions, I believe a
forced fumble for a tutter.
Yeah,
he had a thick 6.
He just overall, I mean, KC, Ashton Bethel Roman, Mario was also banged up coming into the week, so I think he sat the second half potentially.
Correct.
But regardless, I mean, all these guys had drop after drop. I mean, you could hear the disbelief at the 108,000 Aggies or 108,000 people in Kyle at one time after drop after drop after drop. So I think it was more of it wasn't necessarily one person or another. Each person had their thing. Obviously, Marcel was the highlight because he's the quarterback. He's the Heisman guy, and it was just disappointing. But he turned it on in the second half. I mean, I don't even know what happened. I don't understand what happened at halftime. It was like they switched talents, like in a movie called Thunderstruck with Kevin Durant and that kid in high school. Like,
I mean, there were reports saying the Monstars were spotted on the sideline.
Yeah,
of A&M,
that,
so
that would
could have
make
explained
sense.
it. Now, Jay, you were also there at this game too, right? So was there anything else in the first half that stuck out most to you? Was there anything on the defensive side of the ball that really concerned you the most?
I think it was just one of those situations they came in after getting their praises sung and being on the road for so long and thinking they're just going to come in here and roll over a 3-6 team. And if you look at South Carolina's roster, it's sure, and that you can say the same for a lot of teams, SC, Auburn, Florida, for example. The record isn't representative of the amount of talent they have on those rosters, and at any given week, that talent can rear its head, and I think you saw that in College Station. Lenora Sellers, as poorly as he's played sometimes this year, he has talent. You saw that last year. He's steamrolled a bunch of good teams last year and played a bunch more close. Nick Harbor's a beast. You got like Megatron over there who got to take on DPS's finest in the Northeast Tunnel. Got shoulder checked by Cassius Thundercock. Got to watch out for that. But got that, and then Dylan Stewart. What name another conference where you're 3-6 teams other than I'd say kind of like Penn State too last week with Indiana. Like there's a ton of talent on those teams. Whether it's being utilized properly is one thing, but
yeah, I mean, look at Auburn the week before taking Vandy to overtime.
Look at their wide receivers.
You also have to look at the schedule. South Carolina's record is very deceiving because you have to think about this. This is their schedule going all the way up to us. They played Vandy. They played Missouri. They beat Kentucky pretty handily. Then they went and played LSU in Death Valley, I'm pretty sure. They played Oklahoma. They played Alabama. They played Ole Miss, and then they played us.
Yeah,
well, and back to back.
Yeah.
And they almost beat Bama.
Mississippi State, like same thing. Yeah. How many one-score games? That's supposed to be this year a bottom feeder team in the SEC, but how many one-score games has Mississippi State played this year against really, really good teams?
Yeah, and won one against a ranked team as well. Let's not forget that. Yeah. And here's the other thing. In regards to South Carolina specifically, they went into the fourth quarter not just tied, but leading against Alabama, A&M, and Mizzou. If I'm remembering correctly, there's a third team in there, all of which were ranked at the times they played them. I think Alabama, they were up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and I think they got outscored like a combined 33-0. I forget what the total of those 3 games combined, but they, obviously they got outscored in the fourth quarters of all of those. So they've just struggled to close games. I honestly think that points to the fact that their roster as a team with South Carolina is top heavy. So as those stars of Harbors, their wide receiver that's 6'5" and a freaking track star, Dylan Stewart, a phenomenal edge rusher, Lenora Sellers are predicted to be one of the 6 preseason Heisman candidates.
Top 5 NFL pick too.
Yeah, as those wear down along with the other talent you have kind of spread over there, I think that's the reason you're seeing some of this fourth quarter collapses. But let's go over to the guy who's the least excited to discuss this, but is our most, I would say, grounded individual.
I'm very grounded.
Let's start with the South Carolina.
My team's 5-6. I'm very grounded.
Okay, fair point. We did have a phenomenal. Your school does have, I think, one of the most phenomenal atmospheres.
Quick glazing,
regardless of the record.
I just want to feel miserable about the season. Quick glazing me.
I don't know what you want me to do, Bert. Do you want me to make you happy? Do you want me to crap on your team? Do you want me to go over there and say that you only enjoyed 7 minutes of football? What do you want from me, Bert? Stop.
Bert wants to get to the tax bowl, bro.
Bert wants to go Armageddon. Anywho, all right. Let's go back to – all right, so you got to be our ground zero here. Let's start with South Carolina. And when you look at the second half collapse under Beamer ball, and this isn't the first one, but particularly –
well, so look, like my general perception about this game is that like multiple things can be true at once. like you got to give A&M, like good teams or great teams find ways to win games, right? And so you have to give A&M the props. Like when you're down 30-3 going into the half, the odds are not in your favor. To come back
0 for 286.
To come back in a way like that, I mean, it speaks a lot about just how far A&M has come from a cultural standpoint. I mean, if Jimbo was the coach, or if
The team's
someone
Sherman,
was the coach,
the list goes
I mean,
on.
those teams would have rolled over and showed their bellies. The fact that A&M showed all that fight, I think you have to give them a lot of credit for. That being said, this kind of game is so on brand for Shane Beamer. How many times have we seen him go into the second half with the lead and he find a way to drop a game or lose the game? I think a lot of this game says more about South Carolina and where they are as a program. But I mean, like I said, at the same time, it says a lot about A&M and where their program is. So again, I try to find both things can be true. So again,
Yeah.
Props to A&M for winning the game. But I mean, I think we need to have a conversation about A&M as opposed to like. This hasn't been the first game where A&M has kind of not really played up to their full potential and kind of played down to their opponents. You've seen that against Arkansas. You've seen that a couple other times, maybe in the first half against LSU. We've seen A&M kind of have some bipolarness at times in the season. And so what I really want to see as somebody who is looking outside in from A&M's program is when you are playing quality competition, when you are playing the Ohio States and the Georgias of the world, because you're 9-0, or I'm sorry, 7-0, 10-0. Shows you how much I care about things right now. You're 10-0, you're 7-0 in conference. The only thing that you need to be thinking about as an Aggie right now is national championship or bust, right? But here's the thing. It's like, do I trust myself to play 4 quarters of that type of football? The team that showed up in the second half against South Carolina, do I expect to see them against Ohio State or Georgia? And I think we kind of have had some side conversations about this, about like Brandon Walker and him having some restrictions on going all in on A&M. I wouldn't call it a vendetta. I would just call it some apprehensiveness. And I think some of that apprehension is fair, right? We haven't seen. I think you're going to learn a lot about A&M when they play Texas and when they play in the SEC championship game, because now all of a sudden it's you're playing the creme de la creme. You're playing the best teams that the conference has to offer. And I know Texas just got beat by Georgia, but as opposed to, where some of those other teams rank in the current conference standings, Texas is going to be the best team in the SEC A&M is going to play all year.
So would you put current TU against higher than Brian Kelly fired LSU at home or on the road?
Well, just from a standing perspective, Texas is currently ranked 5th in the conference. I think they're 7th.
Yeah. You know what? And here's the crazy thing: that LSU team and that TU team have a lot in common in the fact that they are one-dimensional on offense in regards to having to throw the ball. And they have a very, very good defense. So it's going to be – and both of these games are on the road. So it's going to be a very interesting test.
I think I have a little more faith in Texas as opposed to LSU right now. I mean, look at some of the quality of competition that Texas has played. Texas beat Vanderbilt, man. Who was LSU beating?
I agree with Bert. Texas, you have to remember, they started the season maybe I'm going against our Aggie code, but I'm not going to be unrealistic or blinded. Like Texas came into the season number 1 overall. and they went to Columbus to play Ohio State and only lost by a touchdown. Like, they're not a bad team, like, by any means, and Arch is starting to pick it up. But I will say you can't knock necessarily A&M for playing they're playing the schedule that they were given. It's not
Exactly.
you can't hate on them for winning the games that they were given. I mean, again,
No, absolutely.
You have to think too. A lot of the games too that they played were on the road at night. Like I know this is not a conference game, but Notre Dame at night, they found a way to win, which is a hard place to play. You have LSU at Death Valley whenever they were ranked at like 20, on the road at night, which Death Valley is always
that one too.
Always a hard place to play. So you can't knock A&M because I saw some reports where it's like, well, A&M played only the bottom of the conference, SEC teams. But then you look at the beginning of the season, it's like 5 of the teams that they played were ranked above them to start the season.
So there's a couple of things that I think we can all say are true, right? I think you hit the point on the head. Like A&M, like at the end of the day, you only play the teams that are on your schedule, and where they fall at the end of the season can vary greatly from where they started. And so I agree with that point, but you also have to be cognizant of the best team on your schedule right now is Texas. They are not a top, they are number 5 in the conference standings right now. The next team you guys played is at 7, Missouri. Then it's LSU, Florida, Mississippi State, Auburn, South Carolina, Arkansas. Those teams, like the last 5 teams I just named, are all on the bottom of the conference, and they are all on your schedule. You have to call a spade a spade. You when I say you have not played the top of the top in the SEC, you haven't.
Top of the top in the SEC.
Did you play? And here's the thing. Like I was saying, that's going to come. You're playing Texas in 2 weeks. In all likelihood, you're going to be playing Georgia and Alabama and Atlanta, right? That's coming. Yeah. That's coming. But as things sit right now, Georgia is at number 2. You have not played them yet. Ole Miss is at number 3. You have not played them. Alabama is at number 4. You have not played them. Texas is 5. You have not played them yet. Oklahoma is at 6. You have not played them yet. And Vanderbilt is at 7. You have not played them.
Well, but here's the other thing. So what you've said is completely correct. Everyone in the SEC that A&M has beat is in pretty much the bottom half of the SEC, with one exception that falls in like the 6 to 8 category or something like that. 2 things on that. Number one, I think one thing we have to keep in mind is what was the team ranked at the time at which you played them, and who else have they played? So, LSU, like we said, at the time that they played them, I believe they were 3rd or 4th in the SEC, and they were ranked 20th. Hold on.
But now
Mizzou. And then at Notre Dame, at the time that you play them, they've actually ascended in rank, which, of course, we all hate the fact that Notre Dame is playing their usual game. But currently, they're going to make the playoff. I hate all of that. I hope they lose out. That is what it is. But the other key stat that I would say is an important thing is, like I said, Thomas touched on this, getting it done on the road. Prior to last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, it was prior to last week. The only team in the nation with 3 ranked road wins was A&M. So you do have to give them credit for that. There's other teams like Oklahoma who have the most amount of, I think, top 10 wins or something like that. I think they have 4, which Oklahoma has been phenomenal in that regard. I think 1 or 2 of those have been on the road. But in regards to the road schedule, A&M had a very, very tough road schedule to get through. Now, and like you said, Bert, it's very fair to point out that they haven't played Ole Miss. They ain't played Georgia, ain't played Texas, and they ain't played Alabama. They're going to play for sure Texas in 2 weeks, and that's going to be a very interesting match. And depending on how things sort out, they could be playing Georgia, they could be playing Bama. As an Aggie, at this point, I'm worried about us getting past Sanford. It's just typical Aggie, battered Aggie syndrome, you can call it. Texas on the road will be a very, very interesting test. And then whatever happens after that, we'll see. But I think the Texas matchup on the road is going to be a very similar matchup of what we had with LSU in regards to the fact that you're playing a team that's struggling to run, but still has a lot of weapons in regards to receiver and a mobile. LSU didn't have a mobile quarterback, so you have a more mobile quarterback, but you also have on the flip side a very, very athletic defense. I think one of if not the best hybrid edge rushers in Colin Sexton, and then Anthony Hill, one of the better middle linebackers as well. So we'll see how that goes.
I am going to point out that Texas has shown offensive life this season at times.
And it's been
LSU has been dead. So to sit here and
since
say
the firing,
that they're the same, but even before the firing.
Yeah, no, LSU's been putting up like maybe 20 points a game, even before
they were going no higher than 24. But in regards to their defensive play is what's tailored off. That's the thing. Their defense was absolutely towards the top of the SEC at the time at which A&M played them. So it's like I said, we're talking about the time at which they played them. We don't need to sit at this matchup anymore. Let's talk about the I would say upset. I don't know if you guys would call it an upset, but OU going on the road in the house that Saban built and getting the win against Alabama, and in kind of the most OU fashion with the fact. I mean, Bert, I ended with you. Let's start with you this go around. If I told you that John Mateer only had freaking 23 yards on the ground, would you say they're winning that game?
No.
Okay, they still won the game. That had to do with the turnovers they had. Their defense showed up as I would say the defense looked a lot more like they should have in that Red River rivalry game. But I was very impressed. This is a very, very impressive win. And I also think Alabama could still bounce back from this, but it definitely further exposed the thing we've been saying about them for really the last 4 weeks, which is the fact that they are one-dimensional on offense. So, Bert, in regards to you looking at both sides of this game, what stuck out to you the most in this matchup?
I think everybody can say the same thing. It's Oklahoma's defense. I think how many turnovers did they have? Like 4?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. I mean, that was the biggest takeaway that I had was, okay, Oklahoma's defense can play with anybody. And
Oklahoma's defense only had 3 turnovers, by the way.
3 turnovers. Regardless.
3 turnovers.
Yeah,
3 turnovers is still a lot.
And you were doing this without one of your best linebackers. That was the one that got hurt running that fumble back, if I remember correctly. I think it was 32. I forget his last name. But you were doing it without one of your better linebackers, too. Very impressive.
No, I really have to – after this game, I think Oklahoma as – I was looking at the playoff predictors, and I think Oklahoma and Texas this past weekend essentially switched spots. And so now it's funny how that whole – you look back at that Red River rivalry game and you're just like, wow, like how did Oklahoma lose that game?
Yeah.
Well, and also I don't think any of us looked at that Red River rivalry game as a pivotal playoff decider.
Yeah.
But now as we're 5 games more down the road, we're like, oh my gosh, that actually was. Yeah. So that's very, very interesting
from an
to look at.
I was about to say from an Alabama perspective, I can't really tell a lot from that game, in my opinion.
Other than they can't run the ball.
Other than they can't run the ball. I still think they're a playoff team, and they've shown, I mean, for crying out loud, like they beat Georgia like handedly.
Wasn't it at Georgia's house too?
In Athens.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I can tell here, it's like this is still a really good team. Sometimes, especially in today's age of football where everybody's good, you're going to just throw up a stinker. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's you can have a game like that and you're still in the CF, like you're still in the conversation to make the CFP. But I'm really curious to see how Alabama looks against Auburn. I think from that perspective, I think Auburn has nothing to play for. Alabama has everything. And that if for whatever reason, those games can kind of can go kind of crazy. So we'll see.
Where are they playing this year?
They're playing it at Auburn.
Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and Bert, you're saying that Auburn has nothing to play for. They have everything to play for. They're playing for one of the most
I am talking
radical
about
coaches in college football. They're playing for the Smiler in DJ
Oh
Durkin.
gosh, shut
Okay.
up, bro. We don't want to talk about him.
So that's going to be interesting to watch. And in regards to the playoff implications here, right? Or sorry, the SEC title game implications. And Jay, this is where I'm going to pivot to you on this. When you look at what the result of that OU game is put on, kind of like what we would call the big three, right? The weird thing is Alabama's still in the driver's seat. If they win out, they go regardless.
Yeah, they got the win.
If they drop to Auburn, Georgia goes regardless, right? As long as they take care of business. If A&M loses against TU, regardless of anything else, Georgia and Alabama would still go.
Yeah.
If those two both went out. So when you're looking at what's coming down the line, are you, number one, are you scared at all about Alabama losing to the Smiler? And number two, do you think that these three teams, in regards to Alabama, A&M, and Georgia, are the actual big three of the SEC? Or do you think that there's someone else that can sneak their way in to be kind of the premier representative, or maybe just the best performer in the playoff?
Well, I just wanted to say, going back to kind of what Bert was saying as far as Auburn having nothing to play for, if I know the SEC as well as I think I do, the SEC championship and playoffs, national championship, all that can take a back seat to ruining your rival's year, which is infinitely better than anything else.
Correct.
And as we Aggie fans know from last year, there is nothing more dangerous than an Auburn team with no expectations, nothing to play for, playing at night at Jordan Hare Stadium. That is
Correct.
Absolutely horrifying. And like I was mentioning earlier, Auburn is one of those teams that is stacked talent-wise. They have a good defense. They have a killer wide receiver core.
And Coleman.
And a run game that can go that has some life to it when they give it the chance to. The only big problem with them is their quarterback play and some of their O-line sometimes. But other than that,
their defense can make it a rock fight at times too.
Yeah, right? No, piece. Auburn has gotten many a team to play their brand of football this year. Hell, they came into Kyle Field and made us sit there and just chunk rocks at them for 4 quarters straight.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to it, like we were talking about Bama earlier, as far as like the playoff race, the only issue Bama has is they play a brand of ball that has a very low margin of error. They have to play their brand of ball very, very well, and they can't afford any mistakes just because it is fairly one-dimensional. They've shown they have a very difficult time running the ball, which means that if you face a good team like Oklahoma, they know they can just go in there and pressure Ty Simpson the entire time because they don't really have to worry about defending the run, and their defense isn't as elite as prior years, so you can't totally just lean on that defense just to win you the game.
Well, and if you're their defense, right? Maybe their defense is more talented than it looks on paper.
Sure.
But just like what we saw with LSU's defense in the back.
I'm not saying it's not
what happened, right? They're getting on the field more and more and more and getting worn out because of the fact that their offense is so pass heavy, so they ain't getting breaks, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what we started to see against OU. Did we not? I mean, that's kind of what happened.
And as far as going back to the playoff implications, I think saying that there's just a big three is kind of misleading. I would put Ole Miss in that group as well. And if a few things go wrong, honestly, you can slap in, I think, a bunch of the 2-loss teams in there as well.
Vandy
could be sus. Vandy could be sus. I mean, if you give up 40 points to Auburn, a team that has struggled to move the ball more than anyone at times.
I mean, like I was saying,
that's tough.
Like without Hugh Freeze calling the plays and they get some fresh ideas in there, I find it very telling. Vandy's had a pretty decent defense.
My whole thing is they went back-to-back games of giving up 35 or more to 2 offenses that have at sometimes struggled to put up even 15 against people, right? So I think Vandy is I think they have the ability to potentially win out, potentially. But if you're talking about who's the most susceptible to have an early playoff loss, I would put them at the top. Other than the fact if I allow my battered Aggie syndrome to overtake, A&M's always going to be at the top of my list, unfortunately. Though I do believe in them.
Going back to the playoff race, I think the fact that we're having this conversation right now and there isn't truly, like, I guess you could say A&M is the clear leader right now, but they're one loss away from it being just a complete toss-up in the air of the parity is just unreal.
So I have a scenario. I have a scenario, right? And this is where things could really turn chaotic. Let's say, and Aggies, I apologize in advance. Let's say for whatever reason, A&M goes to Atlanta and they lose, right?
Oh, okay.
However, they also lost to Texas the week beforehand. Now you're dealing with a 10-2 A&M team, and you have probably about 6 SEC schools. You have like 7 SEC schools with 2 losses.
I don't think they punish you for making it to Atlanta.
I agree with that.
I agree.
So
however, this is where your matchups really start playing a factor into everything. It's who beat who, how bad did you beat them, where were you playing?
I would say it'd be different if they got to Atlanta and just got stomped, or if Texas, or if we go to Austin and just get like, if in both of those games when you start facing those
steamrolled,
you just get wasted, then that's different. But like if they're making you just like sit down and bite the pillow the entire time, then
I agree. I think
you might have a little more trouble getting in, but if they're competitive, I don't see you. I agree. A&M getting.
I think A&M would still get an out, because we're talking about A&M specifically right now. If that happened, I think they would still get an at-large bid.
Yeah,
I think just because, again, if you're looking at the matchups that they've had, again, credit. We have to remember also Notre Dame is going to get in, whether we like it or not. Like they're going to get in, but you can leverage. But A&M can leverage that win at night in their home field to be like, hey, like we beat this team at their own place, and they're in the playoff, and then all the way up until Texas, because if Texas wins, they are probably going to get playoff consideration, whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not.
It's pretty much a lock for a playoff spot if A&M even does go, heaven forbid, lose to TU. They will go to the playoffs. It'll be an Ohio State situation last year. And sometimes getting that extra week off and not going to championship Saturday, as we saw with Ohio State last year, going 10-2 and getting that playoff spot, ain't the worst thing. I ain't going to be around to see it because if and when we lose to TU in back-to-back years, I'll be finding the nearest bridge to jump off of. So you guys can come back here after that next week and figure out what A&M's going to do in the playoffs. I'll be gone.
So I'll say it is really interesting to me how after I say A&M goes 10-2, right, with a loss in the SEC championship, it is funny to me how you're hanging your hat on the Notre Dame win, because you would think you have some game in conference that you can hang your hat on.
Well, it'd be 11-2, and there'd only be 1 or 2 other teams that even have 11 wins to begin with. So they're not going to be in the same sorter as like an Oklahoma.
What I am saying is that you would think if you're playing for a conference championship, right? Like Indiana's going to come back at the end of the year and say, "Well, we beat Penn State or whoever," right? It's just funny to me how
for them would be Oregon.
Oregon, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but every single team is going to have like one of those losers of the conference game is going to have one game they can hang their hat on in conference. A&M is really the only school that goes to Notre Dame.
I mean, you could.
No, I think the one you would go to in conference is going to LSU at night, regardless of the firing situation. That's still a staple win. It hasn't happened in a 24 game, 22 game sample, only other than once. So that would be what they go to for an in-conference deal, because regardless, that's a ranked win. That's a tough one.
It's not a ranked win. It's not a ranked win. They are no longer ranked.
Well, then I guess statistically, it counts as a ranked win.
That's fine. That's fine. But when you're hanging your hat, like Indiana is going to be hanging their hat against Oregon. Oregon is currently in the top 10.
Oregon's strength of record is currently very, very low compared to other teams.
But that's what I'm saying.
Bert, you bring up a good point. And this is what I want to pivot to. We do have to cover other leagues in the SEC. So here's my opening statement on the Big Ten, and I'm curious as to y'all's thoughts on this.
Dang, I haven't even got my take into the Alabama-Oklahoma game.
Thomas, I'm sorry. You're going to have to take a back seat, but I'll let you have the first take on this one because we do got to transition here. We're already at 35 minutes. So for our Big Ten folk, okay, is Big Ten as a conference fraudulent? And I say that because of this. We just wrapped up for Week 12. You tell me if there's any more meaningful games that have happened except the following: Oregon at Penn State and Indiana at Oregon. Are there any other meaningful ranked matchups we have seen in conference? What would it be, Bert?
Indiana, Ohio State.
Has that happened already?
It's coming up.
Okay. That's going to come in the conference championship,
I think it is.
Correct? They're not even playing regular.
It's not regular. They're not playing.
I thought it was
regular
regular.
season.
I thought it was
No, that's the presumed championship.
Yeah, that's
the thing.
The championship.
This is the problem. This is where I think people could be. I mean, I think people are acknowledging the Big Ten is a little bit top heavy this year, but in regards to their strength of record, it's got to be one of the lowest strengths of records of their top two teams, and you can even argue Oregon, maybe ever. I mean, this is traditionally a conference that is at least 90 or sometimes 100% of the top to bottom, like slaughterhouse of a schedule of the SEC. And it's not been. And I think there's a chance that we could see an Indiana and heck, I mean, if Michigan goes in and does the unthinkable against Ohio State, that could be a crazy shakeup too. And I would say if when we see some of these other crazy things happen with the SEC and we see these guys drop several, 5-6 spots, I think you can make an argument with the strengths of record that you have with the top loaders in the Big Ten that they should drop the same, if not even more, because of their strength of record. So, Thomas, let me have you open with this. Number one, with the fact that we're only going to have a total of 3 meaningful games in this conference. What is your thoughts on the Big Ten as a conference this year? Is it fraudulent? Is it almost a Notre Dame schedule 2.0? With the lower strength of record than what we're used to seeing, and how do you think this is going to play out for teams that are potentially? I mean, on paper, everyone's thinking Indiana is going to win there and lose to Ohio State in a conference championship. So let's just say that happens. Do you think Indiana deserves to drop as much or more than some of the other SEC teams we've had that have had big losses like that? Because the fact they're not matching up in the regular season, do you think that you punish them for losing in a championship game more than you would other conference championship games?
No, I wouldn't, because then you make the same argument for A&M. If A&M beats TU on the road and then they lose in Atlanta, it's the same argument. You're not going to penalize. Indiana would still get into the playoff. It's just the difference of being a first round bye or an at-large bid. So it's going to be hard because if you're Indiana, they're going to hang their hat on the Oregon win in Eugene as well. It's I will say they're very top heavy because I'm looking at the standings right now. Indiana's undefeated in conference play. Ohio State's undefeated. Then you go down a tier. USC's only lost 1 game in the Big Ten. Oregon's only lost 1 game. Michigan's only lost 1 game. Then you have another clear drop-off with Iowa, Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska, who've all lost 3 games. I'm pretty sure 2 of the 3 are one of the top 2 teams.
Yeah. So here's the point I'm getting at. How is it? And maybe this is why I'm making the argument that of all the conferences, maybe the Big Ten championship is the only one that you do penalize people for losing that game. Because how is it you have these 2 juggernauts that don't play each other at all, right? In the SEC, Georgia and Alabama are playing each other.
But then you don't have – A&M hasn't played anyone.
But they've had other ranked games that they've played in conference. The only ranked game –
This is the only time I'll be the other side of the A&M, being realistic. It's like if A&M drops if they drop the championship game, I think they still get an at-large bid. Even if they drop the TU game and the championship game, they'll still get an at-large bid. Don't get me
it would
wrong.
be the last spot. So the point is the fact that even an A&M team who hasn't collided with the top two has had several ranked in-conference matchup and ranked out-of-conference matchups. The problem is if you look at all the matchups,
but you can't
in
hold
the Big
same.
Ten.
But you have to hold.
Here's why it's different. Here's why it's different, Thomas. Here's why it's different. An 18-team conference depends on a 4-game schedule. That's the problem. That's why I say you penalize that more.
But here's the thing.
I think it just depends on how the loss, like penalizing someone in a conference championship. I think it just depends on how it looks. Like if Ohio State goes in and just like does what Indiana did to Illinois, maybe. But if it's a competitive game, why would you penalize them for making their conference championship?
So I have a question.
But if it's a blowout, like it could be.
Look, I have a question. So who's the big dog in the Big Ten right now? Ohio State. What's their best win?
You'd argue it's TU.
Texas or Washington, yeah.
So let's say Ohio's the only reason Ohio State currently sits at number 1 is because they won the championship last year, right?
Yep. And they were blowing people out.
If they were to lose the Big Ten championship game and get blown out, they still only have 1 loss on their resume.
But their strength of record would just plummet, right?
They don't have a quality win. The best quality win they would have is Michigan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the Michigan game is going to be very interesting to watch, way more than we thought.
Where's it at this year?
Is it the Big House or is it Ohio State? Big House?
Big House.
It's in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Bert, you make a great point. Their best win outside of maybe Michigan or if they lose the championship game, their best win is 7 points over the 5th ranked currently SEC.
If they lose to Michigan, wouldn't Michigan go over Ohio State for the Big Ten championship? So then
the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
So Michigan's lost 2, but only one of them's been in the Big Ten. So
exactly. Correct. So then that would throw a wrench in plans compared to then you
this is the point I'm making here. You have the best overall view of studying the conference movements of last year. So, like I said, the main problem I have here, and why for now I'm calling the Big Ten fraudulent for this year only. You have an 18-team conference that really it all comes down to 4 games. Do you think this is fraudulent enough to give cause for potentially starting to break off some of these teams and have the conferences of the Big Ten and the SEC be more exclusive instead of inclusive and start loading these teams off to an ACC or something like that? I mean, I don't know what you would do.
I could agree with you with unloading them to the ACC.
Is your name Bert, sir? Is your name Bert?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you say Bert. My bad. Go ahead.
Good. All right, Bert, let it rip.
I think we had it right the first time. And what I mean by that is if these conferences, I think they're in a good spot from a size perspective. It's just when we start breaking them out into
divisions and stuff.
I think that's inclines you to have to play quality opponents, regardless of how the schedule lies. I think we had it right with having the West and having the East, or the North and the South. I can't remember what the Big Ten was.
Yeah.
But that ensures that you are going to be playing quality opponents on your schedule every single year. If you want to win, you're going to have to go through Oregon. You're going to have to go through Washington. If you're on the East side, you're going to have to go through Michigan. You're going to have to go through Ohio State. And of course, everyone has crossover rivalries, right? I think of Auburn, Georgia, or Alabama, Tennessee. Back in those days, in the East and West days. But this concept of
Georgia,
I hate to point out A&M again, but the fact that A&M has not played Georgia in 15 years since they've been in the conference is ridiculous.
I mean, but that was during the East and the West.
It was, but still, A&M still had to go play Alabama, LSU,
every year.
Auburn.
Yeah.
every
You know,
single
Kirby
year.
Smart made a
that-
big comment today in his PR that would explain exactly why that hasn't happened in regards to him targeting teams that are having players transfer that don't want to be physical. He made it was a really cool quote, but it explains some of their scheduling. And I don't blame Georgia for not wanting to play other teams than what they've traditionally done, because they have to go through the gauntlet of Florida, Auburn, Alabama, almost every year, Tennessee. You know, so I mean, why would you add other people than, you know, what they've currently been doing? But yeah, I think look, in regards to what we got coming down the road, I think that Michigan-Ohio State game continues to have more and more weight on it because of the fact that if you're Ohio State, you lose that one, what's your strength of record fall to? It plummets. And,
I mean,
you have no leg to stand on, especially if you lose that conference championship game. So, like I said,
but the problem
my current take is I think the Big
Ten's
Ten's fraudulent. You can't have 18 teams come down to a 4-game schedule.
So here's the deal: Ohio State and A&M are in a really similar spot, right?
Yes and no.
Yes and
similar.
You're playing the bottom teams of your conference. You're winning those games. It really comes down to the last game of your season.
I will say that
A&M's top end win is better.
I agree, and I think A&M's strength of record compared to Ohio State's is significantly better. So I think if
A&M's
they
was number
lose,
1 2 weeks ago. Ohio
I
State's
think if
never number 1.
I think if Ohio State
Strength
loses,
of record.
I
Okay,
think if
okay.
A&M,
Yep.
I think if A&M,
I was about to say strength of schedule. That's a different story.
Strength of
I think if
Strength
I
of
think
record.
if Ohio State loses to Michigan, it would impact them more than if A&M lost to TU.
No, I agree. And
So
that's a custom. That's the only reason that is just because the bottom of the SEC is better than the bottom of the Big Ten.
And that's the point I'm making. You have so many teams, and yet your conference comes down to 4 games. It's almost like the American Conference to some extent. It's ridiculous. So
But then
let's keep it going. Guys. The other one we got to talk about is Georgia going in there against the Longhorns. And honestly, I think, you know, the one guy who is not getting the amount of praise that he should be, considering his own fan base absolutely slaughtering his name for the last 3 years, is Mike Bobo, and how good his run game coordination has been against some of these big ranked matchups. He kind of did exactly what he needed to do here. And I think what you look at this matchup, you look at one team who is a very, very balanced approach on offense that got rewarded for it, especially in the fourth quarter, them continuing to try to establish the run and establish, even if it was to their detriment on some of their explosive plays. Colin Sexton got, I think, 1 sack and a TFL and a half or something like that, but you kept going at them. You kept trying to wear them down. And it paid off in that fourth quarter when finally the dam broke. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But you look at TU to where they abandoned the run very early, very, very early. And I didn't even see a lot of attempts at designed runs with Arch Manning, and even design like rolling out of the pocket so much as I did just screenplays that weren't working. So looking at this, let's start with you. Obviously, this should eliminate, barring any just complete craziness, eliminate TU from playoffs. And for Georgia, this is showcasing more of them being one of, if not maybe the most balanced team in the SEC. So what does this tell you about Georgia specifically?
Honestly, at this point, with A&M having a decent shot at the SEC championship, I'd much rather play Alabama than Georgia, to be honest with you. I think Georgia are
correct, sir.
Far more balanced.
Correct.
Because Georgia can run the ball on anybody.
Georgia can run. Georgia
A&M's weakness has been the run game.
They got a good defense that, I mean, it
Plus,
hasn't shown that all
Alabama has more holes too.
Oh yeah,
compared to.
I mean, let me pull up the stats from that game, Georgia and Texas. I mean, let's see. Let me look at rushing yards here. Once again, it comes out Texas can't run the damn ball. Their leading rusher had 37 yards.
Yep.
Like
probably 37 yards and 42 carries. You know,
37 yards. No, 9 carries.
That was hyperbolic. That was a joke.
No, but still 9 carries. Texas attempted to run the ball with Weisner.
Who was their leading rusher? Their punter running for his life.
Weisner. You have a good running back, and you gave him 9 carries.
So the key is the fact that they have 4 new offensive linemen that they have that are replacements from last year.
That's more about the linemen than the running back.
No. My point is, like, you have a weapon like that back there, and you aren't able to utilize him. Wisner's a
Correct.
good running back.
And look, they've had some great receivers too. They haven't been able to utilize as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for almost half of the route trees and route concepts you're running in that game, they're either screen balls or only 3 receiver route concepts because of the fact that you can't get arch time. And
I will say,
I think with the fact that you can't protect against this kind of a front with
Do you know
Georgia,
what
which Georgia has not been able to consistently rush the passer against a lot of the ranked matchups, but they've made TU's offense look like Swiss cheese come fourth quarter.
You know how many rush yards Texas had? Team.
23.
27 yards. No, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, 23 yards because Arch had negative 17 rush yards. Which
Exactly. So it just shows you the fact that was their whole thing right there, right? And the fact that Georgia has not been a huge pass rushing team, what they did there shows you exactly what Texas struggles with. So,
look, as much as we would like to talk about Texas's struggles, that game is 100% about Georgia.
Oh, no, but that's what I was trying to
That's what I'm making it about.
Georgia completely, they are, in my opinion,
Georgia has established themselves as a legit national championship contender.
100%.
Yep.
And I will say, too, I was watching the game all the way up until it got really close. It was 10-14 in the third. And to be fair, I will say this, Arch Manning has gotten a lot better through the last couple weeks compared to the beginning of the season.
He has 6 good quarters of football to where he took over the entire offense himself.
Sure.
There wasn't anything Stark did differently.
I will
say, the biggest thing we've seen.
I will say though, in that game, he had some pretty bad throws, but his receivers were also dropping the ball a lot.
He also has some very good throws. It's not all on Arch. It's not all on Arch.
So I will say the numbers, I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. After that, after Georgia scored and then got that onside kick, it was over.
Finito.
It was over. And they scored 21 straight points in the fourth quarter. It was done.
And only with 10 minutes left to go is when they went on.
You know what the curious thing about Georgia is, in my opinion, though? You look at the team, you look at some of their wide receivers. From a talent perspective, they're not leagues above your other top teams in the SEC. What strikes me about them more than anything is very much a culture-based team. Mm-hmm. It's a team
and receiving-wise, yards after catch. I mean, Zachariah Branch is what
I'm saying.
One of their best
team
receivers.
That clearly embodies Kirby Smart's brand of football and is wholly bought into performing that brand. It's a team that they don't quit. They finish on the fourth quarter. They don't roll over and die, even when things are looking shitty. So it's
and their run and a short yardage passing or screen game that they don't deviate from, no matter how the game is going, is a collection of plays that put a team's best players, that are their best athletes, typically in their secondary. That's what they love to go after, is try to force corners to make tackles against big bodies, or even outside linebackers. They're just gonna, even if they make the play, those guys are going to hurt, and they're going to be demanded to do that for 14 plays straight, multiple series straight. They're going to keep going at your guys and force them to want to sub after 3 or 4 series instead of 6 or 7. So their whole thing is being physical in those particular play calls, and no matter how the game's going, not deviating from them. Do you think they should have aired the ball out more, even though they were only leading Texas by 1 score in the fourth quarter? No, they kept doing what they were going to do because they knew at some point the dam was going to break, no matter how talented that defense was. So
I will say too, because of Carson Beck being and I'm not a Carson Beck fan, but he's more talented than Gunnar Stockton. It's like the drop off between from the beginning of the season to Georgia and all that stuff. I would have Carson Beck, maybe not from a leadership perspective compared to Stockton, because you even have the players on Georgia saying how much more bought in they are with Stockton compared to Beck. But from a throwing talent perspective, like that, I would give the nod to Beck. So the point of me saying that is that I was low-key a Stockton hater because I just didn't think he was that. I think he was more of a game manager compared to he's a good player. But I will say,
I
like,
think it takes 100% correct looking at
Yeah.
his first couple games of the season. There was a lot of
Yeah.
throws.
Yeah.
Or
No,
actually, look at what he didn't throw. That was open, but with a tighter window.
I
I
agree
think
with-
he's the best example of a quarterback that has absolutely exponentially progressed from week one to
Sure.
week now.
Sure. No, I agree. And like I'm looking at the stats. I mean, he didn't throw like for a crazy amount of yards. He didn't throw for 300. He threw for 229, but he was 24 for 29. I mean, he was throwing he was throwing his players open. He was making the plays he needed to make. Like
Against
again, they had they had the rushing game going, and you started seeing everything just break open in the second half. And quick little kudos to Mr. Noah Thomas having 2 touchdowns on TU, which is pretty ironic because of where he came from. But just the way that I'll give him credit. Gunnar Stockton is a lot smarter player than I would have given him credit for. And just seeing the progression from week 1 to now, and just how he's dealing again against a really good Texas defense.
The dude's everything you want in a Georgia quarterback. He takes cartoonish style hits and will not just sit there and lay on the ground for a little bit. He took a cartoonish style hit, like something that would knock a quarterback out of the game against Mississippi State, and still ran down to celebrate with his teammate after the touchdown. So
I will say too,
he's everything you want in a Georgia quarterback.
But you also look at the other aspects of the game. You have only 1 penalty for 15 yards compared to Texas's 9 for 58. You only had 1 turnover. He threw 1 pick. But this is where it blows me away. The time of possession. Texas had about 25 minutes. Georgia had 35 minutes of possession. Like, that's crazy. 21 first downs to 15. Like, only saw a 4th down once, and they converted it. Like,
I want you to go ahead, look at their receiving core, and look how much he spreads out the ball. You can't just take away 1 or 2 guys and then their passing attack shut down. Like Landon Humphreys 2 receptions, Zach Branch 6, Oscar Delt 3, Noah Thomas 4, Chancey Bowens 3, Dylan Bell 2, Cash Jones 3, Lawson Lucky. Like
because it's an access piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an access piece so that they can run the football. That is the scheme.
And
that's always been the scheme.
They put players that like are like you said how they spread the ball out. I mean, they draw up plays for their 5th, 6th, 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, Lawson Lucky only had 1 catch, and that was a touchdown.
Yep.
Like, I mean, Kirby Smart is really good at scheming his players and getting everyone open, setting a play for each individual person. And oh gosh, man, I'm glad that Alabama beat Georgia earlier this season, because just seeing what they did to Texas, again, presuming A&M makes the championship game. I don't want to be like, oh, we're already in it. Presuming they make the championship game, the way A&M matches up to Bama is significantly better than if we matched up against Georgia.
100%.
And I think Bert said this, but the way Georgia played last night shows how much of a contender they are, and they're going to be one of the first teams to play in the playoff. Going to Athens, like, you have to think about that. They're not going to be a bottom team. They're gonna have a home game in the playoff, and
assuming they don't lose to Georgia Tech.
Assuming they don't lose to Georgia Tech, but they're gonna have a home game to start the playoffs. Then they're gonna go play. I think it would probably be Ohio State.
I don't know.
Maybe
Big
regardless,
10 or Big 12 team here. Maybe Tech. Who knows?
Yeah. Regardless, they're going to probably go in. What's up?
We can transition if we want to and to talk about the college football playoff.
Can you kind of give us your big pointers on what you're seeing in the college? Instead of accusing the AP top 25 voters of being glue sniffers, can you go through and detailedly go over the current state of the college football playoff bracket.
So I'm going off of Bleacher Report tonight.
Okay.
Currently our number 12 group of 5 team is going to be North Texas.
Really?
Yeah, I thought James Madison had the best chance.
I also thought JMU was going to.
Regardless.
Tulane.
Yeah. Regardless, continue.
They're going to be the 12 spot. They're going to be playing number 5, which is going to be a blowout. 11 currently is Georgia Tech. I have a feeling they're not going to be 11, considering they have to play Georgia. 10 is Bama. 9 is Notre Dame. 8 Oklahoma. 7 Faggot University. 6 Texas Tech. 5 Oregon. 4 Georgia. 3 Texas A&M. 2 Indiana. 1 Ohio State. So there's going to be some shakeup, obviously. Because in all likelihood, Ohio State's going to be playing Indiana, and then Texas A&M is going to be playing likely Alabama.
Yeah.
Still, so that's the one thing I hate, the whole automatic qualifier deals. If there's no group of 5 team that deserves to make it, they shouldn't get a spot. I would much rather give that spot to like a Vanderbilt. Same thing with the ACC, like that dumpster fire of a conference.
There's still a decent chance that
there.
their conference championship buy-in is vacated. Like, there's a chance that if the chaos continues
not
to happen,
anymore. Not anymore. It's only was going to happen if Duke won out and won the championship game, because they were going to be a 4-loss team. But Virginia beat them this weekend, so that's not going to happen anymore.
Okay. All right.
So it's either going to be
still. Nobody wants to watch. Nobody wants to watch anybody from that conference play in the CFP.
I agree.
They just don't. They don't. And I would much rather
unless they're ACC fans. But
the one team, if they went out, that might be able to do it, assuming that they could. The one ACC team that I think has, I guess, the talent profile. I don't know if I'll catch any flack for this, but it would have to be Miami, and that's assuming Mario Cristobal doesn't pull his finest work and lose to another bottom feeder ACC team before the year's over, which I joke about it, but I was literally joking with my mom a few weeks ago watching the game. I was like, she's like, "Oh, Miami's doing pretty good this year." I was like, what teams does Mario Cristobal have left on the schedule? There were no more ranked teams left on the schedule. It was just the remainder of the ACC. I was like, it's Mario Cristobal's first year.
2 losses guaranteed.
No, I looked down there. I was like, oh no. I was like, he's doomed. My mom's like, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, he has nothing but middle of the pack ACC teams that are unranked. Good for 2 or 3 to drop. So sure enough, Louisville came up, and then
I will say Louisville has been playing pretty good this year.
Who was the second one though?
But,
who was the second?
But they just lost to Clemson, didn't they?
No, not Miami. Who was the second loss? It was
Louisville. I'm talking about Louisville.
Wait, did Miami lose
just
to
lost
Duke?
to no?
Louisville dropped 2 games.
They just lost one last week, and I was like, this is just fucking pitiful. It was
Louisville and Virginia were in the catbird seat, and both blew it.
Was it Wake Forest?
Wake Forest, no.
Who got Louisville?
Because Wake Forest lost to Georgia Tech.
Virginia beat Louisville. That's how they got in.
Regardless.
It's a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire.
Oh, it was SMU. SMU was the other one.
Yes, they beat Miami. Yep.
Clemson beat Louisville.
These automatic qualifiers need to go away.
I agree.
They just need to take the top 12 teams. And if there's a group of 5 team in there, great. If there's a ACC team in there, get them out.
If this season kept playing out the way it did every year, I would agree with you, Bert. The problem is the less power I can put into these godforsaken voters' hands, the better. So even if it's to our detriment, having some kind of system to say, if you do X, Y, and Z, you go. Regardless.
So
I do like having that, because
we've seen
the CFP voters do just ridiculousness before.
My proposal.
But I like having something set in stone.
My proposed solution is have the top 6 teams in the SEC play the top 6 teams in the Big Ten. That's my proposed solution.
I think
that wouldn't work this year, though. I mean, 3 of those would be blowouts. At least 3.
That's fair.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right
in other
now,
words,
it'd be like
Go
the
ahead,
Hunger
Tom.
Games. The SEC takes their top 6. Every other conference gets to select their champion to go.
well, there's a
and
saying.
go to the
There's a saying
slaughterhouse.
we have at our. There's a saying we have at our house. The SEC has invented the college football playoff years ago. You want to know what they call it? The regular season.
no,
Anyway.
I think
Correct. All right. Is there
I
anything
think-
else notable here on the playoff berth? Oh,
No,
sorry. Jay, go ahead, real quick.
I got
Sorry.
one thing actually. Going back to one game, I don't know if we were specifically looking to talk about, but the Ole Miss Florida game. That
yeah.
as far
34-24.
huh?
34-24, Ole Miss.
But it's how
what
it
I was
got-
saying is like it gets once again into the conversation of it. There's not, in my opinion, at least this year, like a true. There's no 2019 LSU, no Nick Saban Alabama that's just like rolling through the schedule, just steamrolling. Like they're like where you look at it and you're like, no one's beating this team.
No
There's
Stetson
also
Bennett, Georgia.
no complete bottom of the barrel SEC team that everyone's beaten by 40.
Like you have to
AKA
look at
every Vandy team for the last decade.
Well,
I will
look at-
say,
prior to last season.
look at
Nothing
Florida.
wrong with that.
Look at Florida. I mean, I know Billy Napier got fired because of he sucks, but
But look at
I
what's
mean,
on the
Florida.
team.
Florida is very. I mean, look at Dallas Wilson.
Dallas
That's his
Wilson.
name, the freshman. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Dude's
like
a dog.
Lane,
you have
Lane-
these.
go ahead, Thomas.
You have the Florida has been competitive with Ole Miss. They have been competitive with A&M up till like before the doors got blown open. I mean, they're not a bad team by any means, but I think that I don't know.
They're a
I am
bad
not-
team with components.
I am not one to start quoting Ole Miss coaches, but Lane Kiffin. Lane
We all know
Kiffin
that
had
Hugh Freeze was a fine Christian man.
Lane Kiffin had a really good quote the other day, and it is so true, especially applying to this season of college football. He said, there are no longer dynasties in this sport.
I agree.
And I
Especially with the portal.
100% agree with the portal and with the
NIL.
The gap between number one and the last team in the NCAA has shrunk, and it is very hard to make sense of the chaos because what separates these teams is such a slim margin. However, for teams like A&M that have traditionally not done well, for teams like Mississippi State and teams like Auburn, not teams named Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever, this season has really propelled those teams forward, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And so-
I mean, Texas Tech's the greatest example of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's another thing. Texas Tech went in and curb stomped BYU, and Bert, you and I were talking about 2 weeks ago about this time going into that and saying like, hey, there's a good chance Tech could absolutely expose BYU for what they were because that BYU team barely beat probably what's going to go down as a 3-win Colorado team. They only beat them by 3 points. So, BYU was on fraud check. They didn't pass the fraud check. I'd be surprised if they even hold that 12 ranking. Especially if they replay Tech. We'll see what happens.
I think their schedule is very backloaded. I think they've had a pretty easy front-loaded schedule, but the rear of their schedules, some of the tougher teams in the Big 12.
So,
Man,
You hit it right on the head. Jay. So I think when you look at this as a whole, like we talked about, you look at the bottom 3 SEC teams. Dude, Mississippi State is a left tackle away from, I think, being an 8-win team. You don't lose your left tackle against Tennessee. You win that game by 2 touchdowns because that was the left tackle alone was the thing with that.
They should have beat
a lot
Texas.
of other games. Should have beat Florida, but once again, came down to a lot of offensive mishaps.
we're
And
giving
part of that
Bert
is your left
PTSD
tackle.
right now.
Anyway,
I've checked out on this season, fellas.
this is my compliment to you. I think you guys are going to reload next season and get a new quarterback, and I think you guys are going.
Hey, hot take.
You've already
hot
progressed.
Take,
You've already
hot
progressed.
take.
Please
Lane goes to
tell me
LSU.
before you start giving me compliments. Please tell me so I can go grab another drink.
Okay. all right,
LSU.
I'm sorry. I'm trying
LSU
to help.
hires Kiffin. Trinidad Chambliss goes down to LSU, and then Van Buren's back of the portal and goes back to State.
Return of the king.
You guys get your quarterback of the future back.
I'll take Camario. If I can, all we need now is a Luigi, and we're set.
No, you need Camaro to complete a 7-yard pass. But anywho, the other thing we've got to look at is the coach. You started it. The coaching circle, the coaching carousel. Look. Here's the crazy thing. Here's the breaking news we got just about an hour before starting this program, and he's gone. Which was the fact that Lane Kiffin has officially been given an ultimatum to where he needs to make up his mind on this coaching search before the Egg Bowl. I understand why Ole Miss is doing this, because if you're like, apparently, allegedly, his family members have already visited both Florida and Baton Rouge. So he's flirting. He's flirting big time. He is whoring himself up as Lane Kiffin would with these other two teams, and maybe even others.
Slinging dick all over the South.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, get him out.
Get him out. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. So, the fact that we have this soap opera around Lane Kiffin, I mean, there's usually one every year, but this one in particular, it's very, very interesting. So, Jay, let me get your first thoughts on this.
Honestly,
do you think Ole Miss is doing this because of the fact that they don't want any distractions for their playoff team going into the playoffs, or do you think they're trying to use this to force Kiffin to take more money to stay with them? Like, do you think they're using this so he doesn't have more time to float around?
The Chris Beard effect, as they might say.
Exactly.
They're just trying to get an answer. I think they just want to know, kind of without any pageantry, is like, look, are you staying or are you not? Like, so we can get it, because especially in this specific coaching carousel, with so many spots, they got to know sooner rather than later if they want to get anyone worth a shit, pretty much. Because there's so many openings, so many good programs.
So many openings and so many few good candidates that are proven.
Yes. But
there's not a lot of splash hires. There's not a lot of splash hires. What are you going to do? Dig up Coach O? Like, what are you going to do?
I mean, teams already talking about it. Arkansas.
Hey, for LSU wouldn't be the worst option to get Coach O, to be honest, because he fits their culture.
That would be literally the Thanos meme.
Okay, hey, we're back. We're back in the swamp.
And they were already paying me. They already paying me, not the coach. Now they're paying me to coach again. So we'll see.
What's up, Bert?
I was going to say, Jay, please continue. You're making a great point.
Yep. So what I was going to say, when it comes to Bert may not like this, but as far as Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, my question would be, why? You are at a school that if you win 10 games a season, they are ready to hop on their knees and slobber all over you. You win 10 games a season.
I'll tell you why.
He has no expectations. Hit me with it.
It is the same reason why Dan Mullen left Mississippi State.
The ego?
Nope.
It is the same exact reason.
Starts with an R.
You are a god in that town. You are a god in Oxford. You are a god in Starkville. However, you are always going to get the bottom of the barrel when it comes to recruits. You just are. You don't.
He's able to get talent to Oxford,
but you still are not going to get the blue bloods. You just.
How many top 10 recruiting classes has not transfer recruiting classes as Kiffin had in the last 3 years? Exactly.
0.
It's all been in the transfer.
0.
So
and
if
I'm going to tell you this
go
right
to a
now,
place where he can actually develop a pipeline, that could be the reason he's trying to leave.
It is extremely hard to recruit in the state of Mississippi as well, because not only are you having to recruit your own state against your own in-state opponent, you are having to fend out other states as well. And not only that, you have, when you are in Florida, you have Orlando, you have Miami, you have Tampa, you have all these major metropolitan areas. Florida is what, number 3 in terms of football
besides
high school,
California,
besides Texas and California.
Texas and
New
Ohio.
Orleans.
Texas, Ohio, Florida, California.
New Orleans is
They're good.
a major,
Regardless, they're good.
New Orleans is a major hub for football talent. That's LSU. Houston is right down the road. Dallas is just up the street.
San Antonio. Yeah.
That
And
is
and
LSU.
Arkansas is far enough away.
Exactly. LSU recruits itself. Florida recruits itself. The resources that are available at LSU and the resources, and when I say resources, I'm talking about donors, money, facilities, booster backing,
Alcoholics.
are far larger at Florida and at LSU than Ole Miss. Ole Miss, under Lane Kiffin, this entire time has been maxed out. They are getting the best of the best of the best when it comes to boosters and everything.
But there's no better.
There's nothing better.
Plus.
There's nothing
Other than just
better
getting more
that
money.
Ole Miss can give.
Gotcha.
They have maxed it
The
out.
only thing Ole Miss can do is slap 13-5 on the table and say, take it or leave it, like per year.
At a certain point, the pocketbooks run out of money.
Yep.
They can only give so much. And so I think what Lane has come to grips with is, even though like he is the top dog in Oxford, he is a big fish in a small pond.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to really go and have a chance at a successful program that is competing for national championships every single year, even though he just said a couple of days ago that that's not possible, he's going to have to go to a big name program.
Question: this may determine the outcome of this.
LSU fits
How
that
much
bill.
eligibility does
Florida
Whitweek
fits
still
that
have?
bill.
What's
How
up?
much what?
How much eligibility does Whitweek still have?
What is it, like 2 years?
Yeah, he's going to LSU. Confirmed.
He's going to LSU, folks.
I think Jay hit the point earlier. I think the ultimatum that Ole Miss gave Lane, on their end, it was a smart move because not only
the only move.
not only the coaching aspect, but then you have to remember, and I know we're talking football, but just to relate it to something similar, it's like you had for college basketball, A&M dealt with this with Buzz leaving at the end of the recruiting cycle. You know, the new coach came in, Bucky came in, and didn't have any. Exactly. And I think that's why it's like, hey, you know, if you're going to move on, move on. We want to get a coach in here to where we can have ample time to recruit, get the guys that we need to get in there, you know, get the NIL sorted out, all that stuff. Where if Lane dilly-dallies all the way on past, you know, whenever
January, they're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not. They want to avoid that situation that can screw them over for like the next like 2 years. Because
here's the other thing, Thomas. Here's the other thing. They want to coach in the playoffs, which they're likely to make. That is 100% focused on the freaking playoffs, right? They don't want someone who's worried about whether his daughters and wife are making it over to Baton Rouge, Louisiana on their flight.
That's the thing that's so great as a State fan, right? Because we know Lane's gone. We know he's gone. And we know that Ole Miss
That's the first time you've said that's why it's so great to be a State fan. And I think
but here's the deal though, right? Ole Miss has gotten to this point because of Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about Lane Kiffin leaving. Not only does it screw over what Ole Miss has going for them right now, it screws over their future.
Next thing you know, Jeff Levy goes and gets hired at Ole Miss.
I don't think he would take that job. I don't think he would take that job.
Okay, so here's the last couple of things I want to talk about the current coaching carousel. All right, look, we know there's a ton of jobs open, and I think the only reason Shane Beamer's employed right now is because if you fire him, you are like 14th on the totem pole. You ain't getting nobody, so they're going to keep Beamer for another year. I guarantee it. Now, here's the other thing. If Lane goes, let's just say it's a done deal. He's leaving Ole Miss, right? If Lane goes, who are you, especially with the fact that whether or not he was ever even in contention for one of these two programs, James Franklin is off the table. He's going to Virginia Tech to go do Virginia Tech.
I have a take on that.
To do something.
I have a take on that, especially as
he's going to go do Virginia Tech things. He's going to enjoy playing Enter Sandman at Volume 12, which is a really cool thing, and that's about the only thing he's going to do for the next 3 years. But here's the question I have for you guys, and Thomas, will start with you so you can run your mouth. Here's the thing: who is your first candidate to fill the other one? So whichever it doesn't matter whichever spot Kiffin would go to. There's not a true front runner for who the other would hire. So if you were said other person of I've got to get sloppy Lane Kiff seconds, like who am I hiring?
Bobby P, baby.
Yeah.
I think
let him ride. Let him ride.
I think
actually don't. That's what cost him his career the first time.
I think
don't let him ride.
I think two. I don't remember their names. I think two good hires would be the lower end guys, not the most flashy guys. I think the USF head coach would be a good hire. Yeah, I think North Texas's head coach would be also a good hire. I think that you can't go wrong
about that hire. With North Texas, you get that quarterback from North Texas likely follows him, and that dude is. Stud.
And it speeds up your rebuilding process.
Kind of like Mateer and
the
OU's and OC. Yeah. You bring in a guy that's already experienced under that program, and kind of style of offense.
I think if you're one of those programs similar to A&M with Elko, I think you hire for culture rather than hire for name. Us three, we saw that firsthand with Jimbo and having to bite the bullet and pay this man freaking 77 million. Yeah, and then we made the right hire.
GDP of a South American country.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then we got the right guy to bring in the culture. You know, who wasn't the most shiny. I mean, shoot, he wasn't even our first option. I mean, think about this. Mark Stoops was going to be our head coach.
For 30 minutes, he was our head coach. He was on the tarmac.
So,
all right.
So I think
move on from A&M football pills.
Yeah, no. I'm getting to my point. I think you hiring for culture. I think the USF head coach would be a great one. I think the North Texas head coach would be great. Or
Summerall from Tulane.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Maybe you go take JMU's head coach again because the last one ended up working out pretty good.
Or school.
So I think you have a couple good options that aren't like it's high risk, high reward kind of deal. But yeah, there's not a lot of good options.
Again.
So
go for another G5 coach.
So I'll pivot, Jay Bird. I'll pivot to you on this in regards to just coaching hires in general. But here's my thought: if I'm LSU, unless I'm just trying to drive up the bidding for Florida and also Ole Miss, I would have already hired Alex Golesh anyways. You've got a huge buyout that you're having to work your way through. Alex Golesh is a low risk, potentially high reward, and also very economic hire for you, considering the dadgum governor is having to take place in this hire, and you're not going to be able to throw money at everything.
Here's my point with that. After watching what LSU has done with Brian Kelly recently, who the fuck wants to go work at LSU? No, seriously, you just watch them fire their head coach and then go, hear me out. Brian, would you take 75% of your contract? And he goes, no. And they go, well, you're going to have to sue us. You're watching your potential future employer sit there and not agree to give you the money that you signed in your contract. So that hurts LSU.
So here's the thing. Here's the one thing I would argue in defense of them for that. If you were a school who had a very deep front office staff and also just GA assistant staff that was all, everyone knows in LSU just how important it is to be a native there and be a part of that organization. Brian Kelly came in and cleared house multiple times of people who had been there a while that made up that front office and other staff of that whole thing. got rid of a lot of homegrown boys in that area, if you know what I mean. So I think that's the other thing is like with how much he gutted the interior of that program from day one, put freaking Tommy Moffitt out in the rain, a guy who saw three championship teams across 20 years with them. I think that has to do with the I wouldn't even say mistreatment because I hate the guy. So the treatment of Brian Kelly post divorce. But yeah, like I said, for me, I think with the fact that I don't think LSU has as much money to throw at this as Florida does, in my opinion, because Florida took a low risk option and just gave him too much time. They took Billy Napier from the Raging Cajuns. I think that's where he coached, right? Raging Cajuns, and gave him a contract coming off of the Dan Mullen field, right? So you went from splash hire to low risk, potential high reward guy, but you just gave him too long of a dadgum leash, and you pissed away talent after talent after talent. So in this case, now you got the fun money back. You paid off Mullen. You good now. The check's cleared. Now you can go back to the blackjack table again. Go get you another big hire. So I think if Lane Kiffin goes anywhere, it's going to be for the pipeline and for the money. That points to Florida. So LSU's got to get Alex Golesh. I think that's your best hire. You could have made the argument last year for Matt Campbell at Iowa State. He's pissed the bed in regards to his potential, in my opinion. But so I think Kiffin, the hire is actually more obvious.
I think Kiffin, though, if like Jay made a good point about LSU and seeing the type of mess that they're dealing with. I think the one of the guys that can handle it would be Kiffin, like who can handle all the crap going on and put together. He gets the pipeline. Whit Weeks, he doesn't have to move anywhere. I mean, he already has the repertoire. Like, all jokes aside, he already has the relationship with Kiffin. You're going to have your cap. Both. I mean, you're going to have a stud linebacker who's going to be just the forefront of your defense. That was already pretty good, who probably has influence on who stays.
And his brother.
So I think Kiffin is going to, if he goes anywhere, I think he's going to go to LSU because, again, he gets the money, he gets the pipeline.
I don't know who gets the money.
The money's not there at LSU. They have so much money invested in paying off Brian Kelly right now.
That's fair. But he's going to – the longer-term play. He can set up for longer-term succce at LSU.
There's one thing that has always amazed me, and it's LSU's ability to recruit players. It is, I think, it's the easiest.
East and West.
I think it is the easiest college to recruit in the country because all you have to say is it's LSU, dude.
And you have to think about
nowhere else can you say that.
You have to think about this too, is that they don't have any competition in Louisiana, which is a main hub. Who are they going to recruit against? The Raging Cajuns?
I agree 100%. And you can pull kids from Texas. You can pull kids from Mississippi.
LSU.
I know.
You can LSU. I'm telling you, they can pull talent.
LSU and Alabama recruited Houston and Dallas better than TU and A&M did for 2 decades.
Any kid in Louisiana that's worth anything in football is going to LSU.
And then you also have to think, because of the competition, if he went to Florida, you're recruiting against Florida State and Miami. Mainly more Miami, but I mean, still.
Lane has said multiple times it's not about the money. And
that 100% means it's about the money.
I'm right there with you. But still.
Oh, wait. It means it's about the hose.
From a longevity standpoint, I agree 100% with what Thomas is saying. I don't think that's what is going to be the best fit wise for Lane Kiffin and his personality. I think that would be. But
which one allows him to tweet more?
Florida.
LSU. Sure?
Mixed results there.
I was gonna say LSU. They like to.
Have you seen the governor?
This is the same fan base whose main song has the lyrics "Suck that tiger dick, bitch," and it is sanctioned by the university. So
this is also the same. This is also the same university whose governor told the active AD he wasn't going to be around while he to select the next coach while the AD was still employed. It took them time to fire
Scott
him.
Woodard is a terrorist. Right up there with ISIS and Al Qaeda. That man is
Woodard on a no-fly list. You heard it here first.
Spoken like
a second
like a
bite
true
out his
Aggie.
powers. Like,
spoken like a
hey,
true
here's the
Aggie.
wild card. Do you think Matt Rule is still a candidate? I mean, he
No
was at the top of
way.
the list for exactly one week, and then he pissed the bed.
Hold on.
I'll tell you.
He was
I'll tell you.
61, sitting pretty.
So, Matt Rule, I think he is a great candidate for a school like Arkansas
Penn State.
or South
I agree with that.
Carolina.
Ooh,
Well,
Penn State could be
it needs
great.
to build something.
Penn State would
You
be
can build a
perfect.
program, but once that program has hit stability, he's not.
Dude, you want
You
to know?
can't grow it further.
I've heard another name being talked about for Penn State, which is kind of interesting. Dan Mullen.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah,
Back,
Yeah.
baby. Once again,
yeah.
dust him off and put him
honestly,
back on
that one might hurt me to watch.
the most.
Well, no, I had my own personal ideas for where Dan could go to school, could go back to, but no. I think Penn State would be a pretty good fit for Dan.
Speaking of Penn,
But there's one name that I'm surprised nobody has kind of mentioned. And we mentioned his name earlier in this podcast. It's Mike Bobo. Nobody has talked about him at all.
I've heard a
And
lot
I
of
feel
talk
like
about
LSU
it.
could get him really cheaply, as
Yeah.
opposed
Who's,
to
Here's another one. And
Heartline,
as an
I've heard.
Aggie, I hope this does not happen. Colin Klein is on the table.
don't say that.
this is the man. This is the
You
man.
gotta
that
be
threw that.
honest.
No. This is the man that threw a trick play on the 2-yard line this past weekend.
That was just to make sure he doesn't go next year.
Yeah.
I will
40
say, I saw Cole kind of rush past this a little bit about speaking of Penn State, James Franklin. I personally he it's a give or take thing because I mean he hasn't had the national championship, but I mean the year before he was 1 or 2 plays away from getting there. I believe that against Notre Dame. So I think
Literally
this
one play.
season,
Yeah.
and to be fair, I feel like a lot of it also falls on Drew Aller because I mean he is awful. But I think you fired him. They could have fired him prematurely. So I think him going to Virginia Tech, as much as it pains me to say this because of my UVA roots deep down, I think he's going to build something there that's going to be pretty good because you have to think there's not going to be much competition in the ACC because of you already looked, it's already a mess. He's going to be able to build a program there.
Powerful.
That
conference,
yes, Bird.
He's an idiot. If he signs at Virginia Tech, he is a flipping idiot.
Why
He is
is
the
that?
stupidest motherfucker. I swear. This is what I was going to say earlier today. If he signs at Virginia Tech,
Bert's like the Matthew McConaughey guy where he's like on the other side of the screen, just like screaming, "No, don't do it! Don't do it!
Interstellar.
Don't do it!"
he's an idiot.
Crying.
Like, look. All I'm gonna say is this: like you were saying, Tom, this guy only lost 2 games at Penn State, in multiple seasons. He could easily get an Auburn job. He could easily get a Florida State job. The Arkansas job, in my opinion, is better than the Virginia Tech job.
That's fair.
Just from a money standpoint and everything.
That's fair.
I mean,
Walmart money.
there's a chance South Carolina could
That
come
Tyson
open.
money.
LSU is
Nuggie
still
money.
open.
Kidding me?
There's so many. So the idea that he wants to go be the Hokies coach. I mean, it feels like he's just surrendering his career. He literally
That's
went
fair.
from
I heard Sandstorm one. No, what is it? What do they have?
the dude had
Understand,
you
That
go
was all
from being
took.
you look at Penn State, you are literally top of the top of the top, and you still have that opportunity, and schools are showing interest in you. Like you still have major schools like trying to get you to come to their university, and you're going to be like, oh no, I'm going to go be a pokey. That's so dumb. It's so stupid on his part.
I mean,
it's him surrendering. He has the brain of a turkey. He had the best way I can describe it.
That he was glitching.
The best way I can describe it is like you went from the heart of a lion to the dick of a turkey. He's an idiot.
What did James Franklin do to you? Oh my word!
I think it's a high risk for Franklin, but it could be a pretty high reward as well. Because I think in James Franklin's eyes, he wants to build something. Which credit probably isn't the best place. He could have gone to probably any SEC team in the postseason.
But he want to compete in the SEC.
Exactly. That's the thing. Does he want to compete in the SEC? And I think the ACC, he can have a quicker turnaround to where he doesn't have to face that competition as much, and he could build something to probably be more sustainable. But I think he's going to probably run into the same issue he did at Penn State when he plays. If he goes and builds like a 10-win Virginia Tech team and makes the playoffs or whatever, you're going to see them get curb stomped by the Alabamas, the Georgias, or the Oregons. Then they're playing each other to who loses what for
starters. They get to have the choke-off every year. Lose to several middling ACC teams, ruin your chances, emotionally crush the entire league.
Lose to Boston. Lose to Bill O'Brien and Boston College.
1-9 Boston College.
I don't know. I think it's a high risk, high reward deal in Blacksburg.
That was the least predictable Burt crash out I've seen maybe in my life.
Quote it, baby. Put it in the annals. Heart of a lion to dick of a turkey.
That's going on the quote board.
That's going on the quote board. That's going to get clipped. I may have to sample that too.
I wasn't expecting that either. I was expecting him to just be like, Thomas, that's just a dumb take. Why would he do that? Instead, he just explodes.
A tirade.
Yes. You would think he was talking about ISIS, and it's just James Franklin. So there's that. Here's the last thing I want to talk about, guys. We had a really weird story pop up from Desmond Howard saying, don't be surprised if there's another coaching seat that's empty, and it's coming out of Austin.
Oh, it's Sark to the NFL?
Ooh. Oh, because going to
Giants?
Tennessee.
I don't know enough about this. All I know is
hilarious.
How on God's green earth does Desmond Howard know?
They did report on it earlier in the year. You did right before the Mississippi State game. There was a big story that dropped that Sark was going to the NFL.
Look, honestly, if I had to live in Austin, I'd want to leave first chance I got to. So.
I agree. But this is kind of a little bit of a Cliff Kingsbury situation. Offensive-minded coach, but wasn't able to punch through and win a national championship if he leaves, this year. But yet he's getting promoted. So, you're banking on his scheme being more NFL ready than it is, or NFL. What's the word? NFL success
friendly
than it does in the college world. And as we saw with Cliff Kingsbury, just throwing 3 verts for 4 quarters, it didn't work. So I don't know how good that would work. I don't know where he would land other than the Giants.
I think it's a quarter hit. The offensive issues have been more quarterback related because you saw Quinn Ewers in there last year dealing. So I don't think it's necessarily that. I don't think
it's all quarterback related. I actually think it has more to do with the run game, because what was the one thing that Texas could do to everybody last year? It was run the ball on everybody, and you were benefited from that. I think it's an O-line issue.
So I think if Sark if Sark goes to the NFL, then you're going to have the number 1 seat in the country just open up like that. Which
would you put that job over LSU or Florida right now?
Yes,
Absolutely.
1,000,000%. Because you have to think about
Absolutely.
this. They have the
That would be the
put
best
that because of the
ball.
roster retention, or what would you put that for?
No, because you have deep pockets already. Then you're like similar to LSU and Florida. Texas recruits itself. We're the University of Texas. Like, we are the premier. I'm an Aggie. I have to say perspective of another person, as if I was giving a recruiting pitch. We're the
Ring
premier
off now.
in the country. Blah 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 blah. I technically don't have it on right now, so I can't. But anyways, that's the recruiting pitch that they would say, and you get 5 stars coming in like crazy. You have crazy money. You have the pipeline of Texas, Louisiana. Like, you have these different pipelines going in. Like, it's going to be hard to, not say that's over LSU or Florida. I mean,
the question is more of a timing thing for me. I mean, I could see how Sark is going to get through the season firsthand, and NFL teams are not going to be willing to make a move until after their season as well. So I don't know if Lane is going to be making a decision before then. I mean, we've already talked about the most Ole Miss thing to ever do. Oh, what the hell is that?
That was the most Ole Miss thing to do, is throw balloons.
The most Ole Miss thing to do is give that ultimatum. And I'll be honest, like that, that gives me, from a State fan's perspective, that gives me all inclinations he's gone.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
Correct.
I think too, it would be wild if for some reason Lane waited and that seat did open up in Austin, that Lane would in a heartbeat.
This goes back to James Franklin. In my opinion, it's there are so many seats open right now. We're not even still sure which seats are going to be open. Why the hell are you making any decision right now?
I think he just wanted to go to the spot with the lowest pressure. I think he wants to have the longest leash with the most amount of money possible.
Reset.
You're not going to get that anywhere else than Virginia Tech. Like, if you're Virginia Tech, no matter how bad it gets, you have no reason to fire him within 3 years.
Again, though, from a James Franklin perspective, this is what I'm going, we're going back on this again. He's a skinny dick if he's doing that, because he's given up on everything. Like, you went 10-2 last year, and now you're saying, "Oh, I think I'm okay with going 6-6 and making the Liberty Bowl." Nah, man, you're a skinny dick.
Michael Vick's brother was pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
I think that would shake things up if Austin ended up getting. If here's the way to think about it, because if Texas doesn't make the playoff, Sark could be more inclined to take the job sooner rather than later for the playoff. Because I mean,
from my understanding, they're already eliminated. So I don't know. Very, very weird. Very, very weird. So it's all weird. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what else to say to close this one out. We've got a bunch of like open-ended question marks in regards to where this season's at. I do think we're going to have one or two games over the next 2 weeks that will not just shape out the playoff bracket, but also probably the potential for a lot of these coaching hires to get filled in within the next 2 weeks. I think that's a minimum. But for those of y'all that were able to hang with us for this, I don't know what these last 30 minutes were, but they were, I mean, we saw not one, but two Burt crash outs. So, I mean, I think this was a success. So this is great. But thank you all for hanging in there with us. Continue to light us up with comments or question suggestions. Carson, I'm sorry we didn't get to your comment, your question this week. We'll get to it next week. But we will We will see you guys next week. And yeah, peace out.